Ravenstone Avenue was the kind of street where nothing unexpected was ever supposed to happen. The sun washed everything in gold. The scent of fresh basil drifted through the air, and wealthy diners enjoyed meals that cost more than most people made in a month. Among them sat the billionaire Alistair Grant Munro, a man who believed he had seen everything the world could possibly offer. He'd witnessed ambition, power, devotion, and betrayal. Nothing surprised him anymore. Or so he thought. He had just lifted his fork to take the first bite of his exquisite meal when a barefoot little girl burst from a nearby alley. She sprinted toward him, her voice cracking as she screamed, "Don't eat that!" Every single diner froze in place. Forks hung suspended in midair. Security guards immediately rushed forward, ready to intervene. In this polished world of expensive shoes and casual luxury, a child covered in dirt was an unwelcome intrusion, a disruption no one wanted. But Alistair noticed something that the others didn't. This little girl wasn't reaching for his food. She was desperately pushing his hand away from it, her eyes wide with sheer terror, not hunger. Her clothes were tattered and patched with scraps of burlap. Her small feet were scraped and bruised from what must have been miles of wandering, and her breath came in short, painful gasps. "Please," she begged, her voice a ragged whisper. "He put something in it." The head waiter scoffed, annoyed at the scene she was causing. He lifted the plate dramatically, intending to prove her wrong, and then his face went completely pale the moment he smelled it. His hands began to shake uncontrollably. Within seconds, the head chef sprinted out of the kitchen, shouting for everyone to step back. The dish was carefully removed from the table as if it were a live explosive. The security guards loosened their grip on the girl. Alistair leaned forward, his voice low and serious. "What did you see?" Between trembling breaths, she explained it all. A man sneaking out of the kitchen door, a small vial filled with a strange powder, and a hurried pour into the special dish for the rich man outside. She described the distinctive scar on his neck, his shaking hands, and the unmistakable look of someone doing something terribly, terribly wrong. Her name, she said, was Talia. She had been surviving on her own for days, ever since her mother had vanished without a trace. She slept in alleys, scavenged for food, and constantly hid from dangerous men. She didn't know what poison was, but she knew danger when she saw it, and she ran to stop it. The chef returned a few minutes later, his voice cracking as he explained that the powder was a highly toxic substance, deadly even in the smallest of doses. Alistair felt his own pulse thunder in his ears. He'd faced corporate threats before hostile takeovers, market manipulation, but this was different. Tease was cold-blooded and personal. Someone had tried to kill him, and he would have eaten that poison without a second thought if it had been for a child who had nothing left in the world but her own courage. The police were called, and with Talia's detailed description, they quickly identified the culprit. A recently fired kitchen worker with a known violent history. But the story didn't end there. When one of the detectives gently asked Talia where she lived, her answer seemed to shatter the silent judgment of the entire crowd. "Nowhere," she whispered, looking down at her bare feet. "Not since Mama didn't come back." Without a word, Alistair removed his expensive coat and wrapped it around her thin, shivering shoulders. She sank into its warmth, a small, fragile figure swallowed by the luxurious fabric. He then took her across the street, ordered her a real meal, and listened as she described the last place she saw her mother Anne. Abandoned warehouse on the edge of town, with collapsing storage rooms and a sense of decay. Alistair didn't hesitate for a moment. He turned to the lead detective and said, "Find her mother. Use anything you need. I'll cover the entire cost." Hours later, as the sun dipped below the city skyline, painting the clouds in shades of orange and purple, a team of officers found a collapsed storage room inside that very warehouse. And there, barely conscious but alive, lay Talia's mother. She had been trapped under debris for 2 long days. Talia ran to her, sobbing with relief, and her mother clung to her, whispering her name over and over again, as if to make sure she was real. The next day, the police captured the saboteur. Under questioning, he confessed everything. He also revealed the identity of the man who had hired him, a rival executive who had once mocked Alistair by saying, "Everyone has a weakness." In the end, That same executive watched his entire empire crumble as federal agents marched into his office. Justice had arrived, but not from a position of power or wealth. It came from the bravery of a small child whom he, and everyone else, would have simply ignored. Under the fading light of that evening, Alistair realized something profound. Sometimes, the smallest and most overlooked voices hold the most extraordinary strength, and sometimes, the powerful are saved not by their money or their influence, but by a simple act of compassion. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. And let us know in the comments. What would you have done if you were in Alistair's place? Thanks for watching.